Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, there's been a reported fire on a Royal Caribbean ship. We have a Carnival ship that's having engine problems and has to change 6 different itineraries. And then we have an airport coming out and saying, don't blame the cruise ships. First off, a fire has been reported the last couple of days on the Explorer of the Seas. Apparently a fire broke out in a storeroom on the sports deck, causing smoke on decks 12 and 13. Passengers reported a lot of smoke in the area, and parts of those areas were closed off to the public. They saw people in the fire retardant suits, the hazmat suits, if you will, and eventually the captain did come on and fairly quickly say that the fire was under control. Thankfully, there were no injuries reported for crew members or passengers on board, just a little bit of inconvenience. Scary thing, when you're at sea, a fire on a cruise ship is the worst thing you could possibly have, because fire can just spread quickly. It can cut off parts of the ship where you can't use one side of the ship's lifeboats. There are so many things that can happen. People can get trapped in areas with not a lot of exits. That is the scariest thing on board, and I'm glad this was a minor fire and nobody was injured. Thankfully for that, and good work by the crew to get that under control. And I'm sure there's going to be an investigation to see what exactly happened. Next, Carnival has reached out to passengers saying that they have propulsion issues on the Carnival Vista. We've heard that a lot this year of different cruise ships having engine problems and not being able to get the maintenance done or the parts in time because of the supply chain. Another example, and it's been forced to change a lot of its itineraries out of Galveston. It is now changing the itinerary on October 19th, the 29th, November 12th, January 21st, February 4th, and February 18th. Coincidentally, they're all Western Caribbean sailings, a little bit of a distance for them to travel, and they're changing most of the itinerary. They were supposed to go to Montego Bay in Jamaica, the Grand Cayman Islands, and Cozumel. Now they will be visiting Roatan and Belize and having a little bit longer stay in Cozumel, Mexico. So a real pretty big change compared Jamaica and Roatan, completely different. So they are offering people on board a $50 onboard credit per passenger, up to $100 per stateroom. So if you have 4 people in the stateroom, you're still only going to get $100. Or you can rebook the cruise at no penalty. They will let you change your itinerary and book another ship or book a different vacation. Or you can ask for a full refund as well. But there is a catch to that. You have only until September 26th now to put in your request for one of those changes. Otherwise, it'll be the $100 onboard credit, and after the 26th, you may be subject to fees and penalties to change your itineraries or ask for money back. So I really like that they're offering people to change the cruise as well as get your money back, because if you were planning on sailing in a couple weeks and now you found out it's canceled altogether and you have to change your vacation, you don't know when maybe you can get your next vacation. So I like that they're offering that to change it. I don't like the fact that they're only offering a few days to get in your request. They should have at least put you can put in your request until the end of the month. 2 more days at least, something. I do understand that the very first sailing, October 15th, is coming up pretty quickly, which means, if they have passengers, say 10% of the passengers decide to get their money back and change, well, they only have a limited amount of time to try and refill those cabins. And I understand that part from a company perspective, but as a passenger, I would have liked to have a little more time to put in my decision, whether or not I want a refund. But that's just me. At least they're offering refunds at the moment. So if you're one of those people that are affected by that change and you want your refund, remember you have to put in your request as soon as possible by the 26th. Okay, now let's talk about Seattle Airport and those long lineups last week, and a lot of media and a lot of people came out and were blaming the cruise ships. Well, believe it or not, the airport has come out to defend them. But before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It really does help the channel out. You'll be kept up to date with all things cruising. You're about to see a bunch of vlogs from the Oasis of the Sea and see all the revamps they've done on that ship. I may be sailing beside a hurricane. Who knows what's going to happen this weekend? But if you want to be kept up to date with all things in the news and all stories about cruising, from tips and tricks to destinations and ships, just consider joining the channel. It really does help it out, and I really do appreciate it. Okay, Seattle Airport on the weekend had long lines, and numerous people ended up missing their flight. Well, in the stories that came out, they were saying that cruise ship passengers were being dropped off, 5,000 roughly an hour in the morning, and that's why they were backed up. But the airport has come out and said, hey, no, don't blame cruise ships, because we've had that same amount of cruise ships for years and years now. That's not an unusual thing for us on weekends to have those crews. We prepare for that sort of thing. But they said there's some things that were the main cause of what happened. First off, they said, normally the summer period is a peak period for travel, obviously, but after Labor Day, it usually immediately drops off about 15%. So they scheduled their staffing heavy during the summer, but after Labor Day, that heavy increase was gone. They dropped it off. They were scheduled less, expecting much less traffic. And that didn't happen. So they say that's cause number 2. Since the pandemic, people's travel has changed. It used to be very predictable. People are going to sail in the, fly in the summer and peak holidays. Now they're saying after the pent-up demand, people have to spread their travel out more because a lot of the places they want to go is either sold out or too busy, or they couldn't get their time off because everybody at work wanted that time off. So now they're finding themselves traveling at periods when they wouldn't have normally traveled, like after Labor Day. And so they didn't see that 15% drop in travel. In fact, it was higher than it was last weekend. So yeah, they're saying don't blame cruise ships. A lot of places are quick to blame cruise ships for all the ills of the world and all the hardships of any particular place. But here's an example of the airport coming out and saying, yeah, the cruise ships had nothing to do with it. Your travel had everything to do with it. I appreciate them coming out and clearing that up for us. And they say they are looking at what to do. They also said during that period, I remember reporting that 27 out of 29 security lanes, checkpoints, were open. So they were only down 2. But I didn't realize those 2 were in one area, one checkpoint location. So for instance, Terminal A or Terminal B or Terminal C, whichever the case may be, which is a lot bigger than just one in one terminal, one in another terminal. It can really slow down that particular area. And they say construction and maintenance in that area had 2 of those lanes closed, which did not help the situation at all. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that they investigated. I'm glad to know they're working on the problem. That's a good job, and I'm glad to see they're not trying to pass the buck and blame anybody else. They're just saying, this is what happened, this is the reality, and now we're going to work on fixing it. That's what we do like to hear. Well, Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.